Hi, everyone. We're back with another episode of Swirl Radio. I am Talita Nesbitt Porter. I'm here with Terrence Davey, Aya Williams, and we have the wonderful Monique with us, and she's going to share some tips and tricks about staying healthy in regard to your everyday life.
Super excited to have Monique here. She's a health and nutrition coach, longtime chef and nutrition expert, and her food is a combination of tasty, healthy, and it helps you detox. Um, it's anti-inflammatory and it's fun. And
I teach people how to make healthy food and I make it fun, and probably the most fun for me is directing people to the healthier convenience foods, right? Because we live in a processed world. To think that, we're not ever going to eat anything out of package is just, it's just not really a viable option. We need convenience sometimes, right? So it's how do we choose the convenience items that are going to support our health journey? And it's totally possible. And one way we do that is learning to read labels and not just pay attention to the nutrition facts, which, many dietitians, nutritionists will, focus on the nutrition facts with people. And to me, that's not directing people on the healthiest product. It's looking at the ingredients because there's all kinds of additives that can impact our health negatively that don't need to be in there. So it's finding the products that, don't have the additives and have whole food ingredients. I yeah, I guess like how far do I go back? So I I will briefly mention my upbringing because I feel like it has to do with where I'm at now. So I grew up with hippie parents. They were super healthy beyond their time. We were shopping at the organic food store before Whole Foods was ever a thing. Um, I thought carob was chocolate until second grade. And if you don't know what carob is, it's different than chocolate, but it's like a powder made from a bean for that it behaves like chocolate, but it's definitely very different. It doesn't have caffeine. That's why my parents liked it. But the day I tried real chocolate, it was just like, hey, you've been holding out on me. But anyway, it was great that I had this healthy upbringing, but it was like they were very strict. We weren't allowed to drink soda. We weren't allowed to eat sugar. We weren't allowed to have fast food. So, when I became a young adult, I rebelled. I ate at all the fast food places. I drank soda. I ate all kinds of, things in colored packages and didn't care about reading the labels. And then, I got sick. I was really overweight and I decided that, one day it was like I was zipping up my pants for work and I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy more pants. I've got to like figure out, I know how to eat healthy. So then like I started shopping organic and I started eating whole foods and I stopped eating fast food and I stopped, you know what I mean? I just went backwards again. And then out of college, I got a job at a catering company. And I don't know if you're familiar with catered food, but it's usually, very rich and very decadent. They're using processed ingredients. There's a lot of butter and, just it's not the healthiest food. So, and then I was like eating that. This is like, again, before kind of my wake up call. But as I started studying nutrition on the side, right? Because I'm like, oh, well, how do I make like nachos healthier? Because, I love nachos. Or how do I make like healthy mac and cheese? And so then I started like finding recipes that were just as satisfying, but like I felt good after eating them. And when I stopped eating the catering food, like I lost a lot of weight and that's all I did. And so I'm just like, okay, there's something in the food that's like making me not feel good and causing me to have imbalances. So it was just like really paying attention to my body and how food made it feel. So as I was at this full-time job, working in catering and directing events, I started seriously studying nutrition. I became a nutritionist online. I did my health coaching school online. This was over the course of 2 or 3 years. And then I attended a cooking class one day it was a raw vegan cooking class. And if you're not familiar with that style of cuisine, it's basically taking like fruits and vegetables and just making, really healthy things out of them. So I learned what a chia seed was. I learned how to make homemade almond milk. I learned how to make green juice and a green smoothie. I went home and bought my juicer and my Vitamix that day. This was like 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And then from there, I heard about a raw vegan chef training in Bali. And I just thought it would be fun to go learn even more because it was like some of the ingredients were weird. And I'm just like, oh, what's Irish moss and how do you use it? And so then I decided to quit my job to pursue coaching. I had a conversation with a friend one day, and I'm like, if I'm ever going to pursue my passion for nutrition, I have to quit this full-time job. And so not only did I quit that job, but I decided to move across country from California to New York. And along the way, I took this chef training. And that's where I was like, oh my God, I want to be an educator and a chef, and I want to teach people how to eat well. So that was like kind of my journey. And when I got to New York, it's like I did all kinds of free events that where I got to like cater like on a small levels, and I'd have my cards. And then from there I got clients, right? Somebody would hire me for a private cooking class, and then someone hired me to private chef. And then fast forward to now, I decided to move to Costa Rica because there was a lot of retreats here, and I thought, hey, maybe I can be a retreat chef. And so I've been hired to make my anti-inflammatory healing food at retreats here in Costa Rica. And so, yeah, that's kind of like my journey so far. And now I'm working on building my online store, which has some recipe packets, some recorded cooking classes, and I'm always attracting more one-on-one clients. And eventually, I want to launch a group coaching program. So it's like, here's all the things that you want to know, and it's in a 6-week container with a whole bunch of other people, and that it's just really fun. It's fun when I find that it's really fun for people and really fun for me when everyone is in it together, right? And they're talking about, I found this product or I made this recipe, and then it like just kind of pumps everybody up. So yeah, I don't know. I think that answered your question. That's kind of the journey.
No, that's awesome. Wait, can we like rewind to Irish moss? Because I've heard a lot about Irish moss, man, and
And
I'm
sea
scared.
moss too.
And sea
It is
moss,
CMOS.
like
Yeah, same,
what?
same.
What is the story behind this moss? Is it
What
actually
is this
that
moss?
good?
Yeah.
What is this moss? Yeah, what she
So
said.
before it got trendy, so like when I was in the States, like they were jarring it. I was just like, whoa, somebody made it into a gel and they're selling it. I'm like, they're making a killing because, you can, what it is, it's a seaweed and it's dried. And then like, if I was to make it myself, which I do, you soak it in water and then there's like sand on it, right? It's from the sea. So you like rinse it real good. And then you blend it with a little bit of filtered water and it creates this gel, right? And it's Irish moss, it's a sea moss, it's a seaweed. That's just essentially what it is. But it's supposed to be really good for brain health, like have a ton of vitamins and minerals. It's supposed to be like a really great source of, natural iodine and sodium. It's really good for the endocrine system. So it's a good thing to include. Like when I include it, I feel really good eating it. But for like chef purposes, my whole attraction to it was like long before I ever cared about the nutritional value, is it makes desserts, healthy desserts, it makes them firm up. So like when I put it in my raw cheesecake, it has the same texture, very similar texture as conventional cheesecake.
Oh,
What does it taste like?
Um, well, if you
Or does it
just
taste
put
like
it,
nothing?
no, it tastes like, have you ever like had seaweed, different kinds of seaweed? I know like kelp noodles don't have a flavor, but like, nori has a very strong flavor. Like it tastes like it's from the sea.
I was gonna say, because I bought some seaweed the other day. Like I was like, oh, I just want to try this. And it tasted like the ocean. It was very
Yeah,
fishy tasting.
yeah,
I was like, this is
right.
not for me, but I
Well,
guess if
so
you mix it with other things
yeah,
to kind of hide the
exactly.
taste. Okay.
So it's like I would put it in a smoothie, and then if you drink it right away, it doesn't like become gelatinous. But then like, if you let it sit there, your smoothie will become a pudding. So you could actually make a natural jello with Irish moss. You could literally mix Irish moss with like a 100% juice and then mix that. And then you could put it in a pan and you could cut it like little jello slices.
But you can hide the taste, right? Like
Yes,
it's not going to taste
absolutely.
like the sea
No,
because like, when you want kids to eat vegetables, you like stick it in their applesauce or hide it, assign some other strong flavor. I got like this when you were talking earlier. I was like, all I could think about was White Lotus. You mentioned Bali and then Costa Rica. And I've been watching the show, so like White Lotus popped into my head.
so good.
I love anything Bali. Yeah, I got to spend 3 months in one year there because I went on this training. and as a student of the chef training, and then I bonded with the people that ran it, and then they invited me to intern. So it's
Mhm.
like I had this catering experience, but then now I'm getting this like back of the house experience on like a retreat, like just kind of on a different perspective. And then they hired me on to be an instructor for the next one. So it was like every 3 or 4 months I got to go back to Bali, and then they stopped doing it. But so yeah, Bali has a special place in my heart. That's where I realized that I wanted to become a chef and a teacher.
You did this raw vegan training, but all of your
Mhm.
food is not raw vegan, correct?
It's cooked.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
you mix and match things to try to get a specific taste or a specific outcome for your clients, right?
Now my goal is making anti-inflammatory healing food, and some of it is a sauce that's technically raw, right? But it's like I don't advertise it that way. A salad is raw vegan if you're keeping the meat and animal products out of it, right? So smoothie is raw vegan. So yeah, I use it as a tool to make beautiful sauces and beautiful desserts. And that was the thing I liked about this style of preparing food, was because I believe everybody should have dessert. Like I feel like there's so much deprivation, like, oh, I can't eat that, and we have guilt and shame if we do eat it. And so my goal was to learn recipes and create recipes where people like not only feel amazing in their body, but they also feel like a little kid, and they feel comforted, and they're like, oh my God, I just ate that piece of cake, and I feel incredible, and it like soothed my soul and comforted this part of me. So yeah.
You had me at everyone deserves dessert. I mean, you're a girl after my heart. I don't believe in not eating dessert. I love
Good.
it. Although diabetes does run in my family, so I really try to be careful, but I like any diet or anything that I do, when I hear like you can't have sugar or you can't have dessert, you've already lost me. So I am more apt to participate and do like healthy things if there is some sort of a sweet treat and reward at the end of the process. I do have a question
Absolutely.
for you though.
Hmm.
Um, I was on Instagram. Alton Brown was there, and I forget who he was interviewing him, but they asked like, what is the best way to like cook a meal or like follow a recipe? And he said to read the recipe, right? Like read the recipe, understand what you're cooking. And so my question for you is, what is the best way to determine if like a packaged product is healthy? On the front it'll say organic or vegan or whatever the claims are, the marketing claims, but like how do you really determine if this really is healthy or if it really is organic? I feel like those are buzzwords, but not everything is as healthy as the front of the package says it is.
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Thank you for asking it. So it's true. It's marketing has all the buzzwords, right? It's like gluten-free, organic, vegan, all the things. We're like, yeah, this looks great. And then people look at the nutrition facts and they're like, oh, okay, the sugar looks low, or there's low in fat, whatever, right? Because that's what we're trained. Diet culture taught us to look at those things, and that's not the most important thing to look at. It's the ingredient list.
Okay.
So that's great. It can say organic, it can say gluten free, it can say, non-GMO, all the things that I want to see on it. But if in the ingredient label, if it's got natural flavors, if it's got citric acid, corn, highly processed oils, right? Usually, if it's organic, it's going to be a healthier product. So you already know if it says organic. And then if it's like, non-GMO, gluten-free, like the other buzzwords, you already know there's more intention behind the product.
Hmm.
But yeah, with any product, you want to read the ingredient list, because they sneak in things in there that are absolutely not natural flavors. To me, is the same thing as artificial flavors. They just have to make it from something that's actually like from the environment. And I'm going to share something with you that a lot of people are horrified from. But if you follow the Food Babe, she's an awesome activist for getting harmful ingredients out of our food. But there's an ingredient that they make from beaver anus glands, and that ingredient goes under natural flavors. Never will you see beaver anus glands on the package, but you'll see natural flavors. But that's what they consider natural.
That
I
sounds
mean, it is.
wonderful.
It
That
is
sounds,
natural though, right?
sounds disgusting.
But you see my point, right? There's nothing natural about natural ingredients. Like when you think natural ingredient, it's like, oh yeah, they're probably putting fruits and vegetables in it. No, it's another way of adding like unhelpful, possibly harmful, inflammatory ingredients to our food.
I think that's one of the things that when I'm sort of on a health journey, but not. I bounce back and forth. And I think the two things that I realized were one, natural flavors are anything but natural. And then like if we're talking about topical products, fragrance is like in everything. And both
Yeah,
of those things have so many artificial products in them that
right.
it's like there's nothing healthy or natural about natural flavors or fragrance. Like if it's there's a fragrance, usually the product will say like, you know, essential oil instead of
Mm-hmm.
fragrance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've learned.
Great. Those are great tips. Absolutely. When we're choosing products to put on our skin or soaps or detergents, we want them to be dye free, so they should be clear. If you anything is colored, if it's blue, it's green, it's pink,
Mm, okay.
there's harmful ingredients in that. So you always want to look for the clear, like free and natural, unscented.
I want to circle back to like these poor tech professionals ordering pizza and eating salts and crackers and
Mm.
I don't know why I said salt and crackers, like getting
Because crackers
Popeyes
are
or
salty. Who wants a cracker that doesn't have salt on it?
But
but
it's like
I guess
pizza and cracker. Like those.
I feel like you're talking to me though. Why are you attacking me right now? I love pizza and crackers.
just came out. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, when people don't have time, they have limited resources. They have the gas station nearby, and they don't
Oof,
necessarily even have a Whole Foods nearby, and they don't
corner
necessarily
store.
even have like a Sprouts nearby. How do you recommend how do you change that mindset and get healthier? Because there's a problem. There's a lot of obesity and a lot of depression. And I think it's very much linked with all the food we're eating. But how do you solve that for like the tech community? What's the first step?
Yeah,
Well,
how do you
it's
shop in the grocery store? I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay, those are two separate questions, but the first one I feel like addresses, people that kind of live in a food desert, right? Where there's not a lot of healthy options available to them, whether that be the store or healthy restaurants. In that case, I would say delivery is going to be their best friend. There's like an Amazon for organic healthy products. It's called Thrive Market. I would say ordering online healthier options is going to be your best bet, and then finding the healthiest restaurant in your area and then modifying some of the things. You can always take a meal and add vegetables to it. Sometimes it's not about like taking away, it's about what can we add in that's more nourishing.
So ordering but what if like it's cost prohibitive to order, but you do live near a grocery store? Like I lived in Harlem for 8 years, before there was a Whole Foods on 125th. I was like, damn it, they got the Whole Foods the month, literally the month that I was moving out of the neighborhood. That's when Whole Foods came. Um, Thank you, gentrification. You did not work for me. But like there were grocery stores in my neighborhood, but it might as well have been a food desert because the produce was old, it was gross.
Mhm.
So like how do you shop in a supermarket that has produce or has products that say they're healthy, but like they're not so healthy?
Yeah, that's tough. First, I want to remind everyone we've always just got to do our best, right? Sometimes we're in the store that doesn't have a lot of healthy options, so it's important to keep in mind, okay, I'm going to do my best. And I would focus on the perimeter, right? The where the produce is, the whole foods, right? Stocking up on, potatoes, sweet potatoes, like the best lettuce that you can find, some fruits, and then going to the frozen section and getting frozen vegetables or frozen fruits. So I've already said this, reading labels is number one on anything in a package. We have to learn to read labels if we want to be the healthiest versions of ourselves and still eat some convenience foods.
How do you recommend that people learn to read labels?
Yeah, good question.
Well, You can come do my group program where I teach you how to become a food label detective. Well, so it's learning which ingredients are harmful and unhelpful. And there's different degrees, and I can talk about some of them, right? So, everybody's probably heard about seed oils. Well, seed oils are highly inflammatory, and they're, for example, canola oil. It's in absolutely everything. When it says vegetable oil, it's usually a blend of soy, corn, and canola oil. So or safflower oil, like these are all very inflammatory oils. When you go to a restaurant and you get deep fried food, it's going to be vegetable oil or canola oil. So you can guarantee that when you're getting fried food, it's in fried and inflammatory oils. So I always recommend to avoid anything fried when you eat out. Like, again, that's like one strategy to try to lessen the amount we get of these oils. Refined sugar, they put cane sugar, high fructose corn syrup, again, all these inflammatory sweetener. There's like 50 names for sugar that, so then people are like, oh, it doesn't have sugar, but it has malt extract. It's like, it's another refined, sugar. MSG also hides under a variety of names: yeast extract, lactic acid. If you know anything about MSG, it gets stuck in your brain and it can, cause a host of issues, right? I'm trying to think of some others that would be helpful to share here. Conventional wheat is just highly sprayed with pesticides, specifically glyphosate, which has now been linked in numerous studies to different types of cancers and autoimmunes, and like even they're now linking like these pesticides to ADHD and things like that. I always tell people organic, whatever you can, whenever it's possible, right? Because it's not always possible, because then we know that we're reducing our pesticide and herbicide exposure. And then, yeah, reading the labels and looking for these additives that right away we know they're not food, right? And not just skipping over them.
Is it
Yeah.
true that Wonder Bread has yoga mat in it? My stepkids love Wonder Bread, and my husband keeps saying, "Oh, that has the yoga mat in it," and I have no idea
Yoga
where that
mat?
came from. Is that true? Yeah, well, that's what he
Absolutely.
says. I haven't actually
What's
researched it, but
yoga?
I was.
Like the mats that you do yoga on?
So I forget the ingredient. We can look it up later, but there's an
Like rubber?
ingredient that there's an ingredient that they put in yoga mats that they also put in Wonder Bread.
Oh, I
So
see. It's an ingredient. Okay.
yeah, so it's like, why are we eating a non-food item in something that's supposed to be edible? Like,
Yeah.
so to me, Wonder Bread it's not food, in my opinion, just based on
Yeah.
reading the ingredient list.
Right.
I had to Google that immediately. I've never heard
That's
that before, but
crazy.
yeah, it looks like
Wow.
NPR reported that it's in around 500 food products. It's called
Hmm.
azodicarbonamide, which doesn't, like, if I saw that on a list, I probably wouldn't eat that.
I wouldn't know what that is. Crazy. I have a question. So you
Hmm.
mentioned staying towards the perimeter of the grocery store. If there aren't like a lot of good fresh food options, getting frozen. Is there a difference, or is one better than the other, frozen versus canned vegetables?
I'm going to tell you what my personal opinion and what feels like,
Hmm.
you know, the best option just from me, right? Because you'll see different things from different people. I know that when things are in a can, they could pick up the toxicity from the can, right?
Heavy
There's
metal.
heavy metals, there's when things are in plastic, there's the microplastic toxicity. So it's like, if we're constantly eating things out of the can and out of plastic, we're ingesting toxins, right? And then if it's not organic, so then it's like little bits of poison over time that like create all this buildup of toxicity in our bodies. So I prefer frozen over canned. Now it's not always possible, right? Like, for example, beans I buy in the can, and I buy the best beans that I can find on the market. And then, I'm not somebody who wants to cut their whole cauliflower head or whole broccoli head. And so I love buying just, organic 100%. There's no other ingredients, the florets in the freezer section. So yeah, I mean, if you can buy fresh, that's always the best, right? I feel like frozen would be your next option. I've had, people come to me, but I heard that the nutrients that are like diminish over time in frozen products, and that may be true. And I believe if you're not going to eat vegetables, you're either going to eat the frozen vegetable or not eat vegetables at all. eat the frozen vegetables. But I don't know how much I believe that theory. I feel like it tastes really fresh and yummy when I add it to my meals, and it's, easy and convenient. But yeah, and then as far as canned vegetables though, I don't know, unless it's like tomato sauce, right? It's just like 100% tomatoes, but as far as like green beans and things like that, I don't know. I just feel like the texture's kind of weird. And I feel like
Mm,
that's why a lot of people don't like vegetables, because they grew up eating a lot of canned vegetables and they're not yummy.
right.
So my biggest thing, of course, I want it to be healthy, but it needs to be yummy.
I agree. Nobody wants to eat something that doesn't taste good.
I really want to try I have a lot of issues with my stepkids. They love candy, man. And the
Of
thing is,
Mm,
course.
when you're in your teens and 20s, the inflammation, I don't think it hits you. And I don't think
mm.
I could tell them they're eating like a tire from a car and they'll keep eating it cuz they feel
Because it
like
tastes good.
they're yeah, cuz they and it's interesting because it's kind of scary to watch kids like eat all this stuff and then like at some point it could hit them or not hit them and it's just rough. And there's this element of nostalgia. This and I
Mm,
have it too, like I think
mm.
the food you grew up on, good or bad, there's something that's like visceral about it when you eat it. So it's really difficult to transition someone who doesn't like, for example, somebody that never ate vegetables to eat vegetables. Like I don't know, it's just a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have some ideas for you. So, well, let's start backwards. So, with the vegetables, not used to eating vegetables, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's like we're not going to just like give a kid a plate of vegetables after never having a vegetable, right? So it's like in their pasta, maybe if they're young enough, maybe it's like we're having Hulk pasta and you like blended spinach into the sauce and now it's green and it feels fun to eat and it's like kind of like you've maybe hidden it a little bit, right? Um, so there's ways to add in, or if they're used to eating like a bolognese sauce, right? Like I'm trying to, the hamburger helper was a thing when I was growing up, but it's like you could easily chop up vegetables really tiny and cook them into the meat and hide them, right? And it's like it's not like we're trying to trick our kids, but we need to change their taste buds. I mean, maybe we are, but like we have to do this with like big kid adults too, right?
One of my friends, she makes vegetables for her kids, but then she drowns it in sauce and they won't eat it otherwise. And I'm like, you're not making it healthy.
Yeah, I know that's
It's
tough.
funny.
So it's like, yeah, smothering them in sauce that's healthy, and then, maybe it's just a sprinkling of Parmesan at the end, right? Because what a lot of people don't realize is that cheese is addictive. It actually has opioids in it, so it's actually addictive, like just like sugar is addictive. So it's not anybody's fault that they can't stop eating things because they just like it's an addictive thing. So
Cheese is
it takes,
addictive?
yeah, there's a whole book on it called The Cheese
Wow.
Trap. Yeah, the cheese trap is really, really fascinating. Yeah, I want to make sure to, oh, and to answer the other questions about transitioning kids, if they're eating, for example, if they're eating M&Ms, the transition is a product called Real Gems. Little M&M that's crunchy. I mean, it's amazing, but it's made without artificial flavors and colors. Where M&Ms are quite toxic because they have these mood altering addictive things. So maybe Real Gems still have sugar, but to me, that's a way better, option than having the M&Ms. And I actually had a client who I got off M&Ms by eating the Real Gems, and she found that she ate less of them and felt more satisfied. They're colored with beets and spirulina. Another,
What's
another,
spirulina? I see
another,
that a lot in like
another
Yeah.
smoothies.
seaweed. It's another seaweed. That's why I was
Seaweed.
giggling. Seaweed is the topic here today.
Well,
Seaweed.
I was curious how you deal with your clients as far as, because everybody's very different genetically, and, everybody has their own sort of situation. So what is your process like assessing what they can or cannot eat?
When I meet with people, I have them keep a food and mood journal or diary. So, like, they give me, if they can give me a whole week, fantastic. But if they just give me a snapshot, 2 or 3 days of the times they eat, what they eat, how they feel, and a lot of times this is the first time they're thinking about how food makes them feel. Like maybe they eat lunch and then want to take a nap, right? Or they're wired at night after eating something. So I have them keep this food journal, and that's how I know where to meet them, because if somebody's still eating fast food, a green smoothie might be a far stretch for them, right? So whereas somebody who's like, they're already on their healthy eating journey, now they're just like, oh, how do I make a smoothie taste good? I want to do smoothies, but like I don't know how they taste good. So I really tailor each program to where the client is based on what they're eating currently. Just finding the healthiest version, the highest quality of that product. So it's like we want to get your kids eating the like best gummy bears worms that are available on the market.
Got it.
I wonder if you turn it into an experiment. Because, like, one of my friends, she said that she got her kids to eat because, like, she invited them to the kitchen with her and said, okay, we're
Nice.
going to experiment. We're going to try this vegetable. And, you know, if we like it, great. If we don't like it, we'll never buy it again. So I wonder if, like, just saying, let's go buy some random things at the store and see if we like it. And
Love
that
it.
may or may not work for them. But
You just brought the fun in with
The
that. That feels
fun.
very fun to me. Like our taste buds change and we no longer have a taste for that item that might be addictive or it might have, unhelpful ingredients. And then we get used to something that's like better for us.
Still waiting for that transition for myself because, like, I hardly ever eat anything like candy or stuff like that. But oh boy, if I do, like, I want to eat all of it.
Well, and how do you feel after you eat a big giant stash of candy?
Terrible. That's why I don't do it. But but I still like the way it tastes.
Well, but I think that's actually really beautiful though, and I love that you shared that because I think it's important to go back to the way we used to eat or to eat a giant stash of candy once in a while so that we remember, oh wow, I actually don't feel good when I eat that. And then more and more time goes in between eating that again. So maybe it was like every 3 months. And now you're like, oh no, I really felt bad last time. And now it's 6 months because you forget. And then you eat it. You're like, oh, why did I do that? And then pretty soon it's a year. And then you just like, nope, I don't ever need to eat that again. I have other things that I enjoy eating that make me feel good.
Yeah, getting to that space where you prioritize how you feel long term versus the little bit of pleasure you get while you're eating something. Especially if you just think about it logically, it's like you experience chewing a piece of candy for like a few seconds, and then the pleasure is over. Like it just feels bad after that.
But Ben and Jerry's though, like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when I
Yeah,
have a bad day, like
of
I
course.
need but I know it's all trash. It's like so much it's like diabetes in a cup. I know it's bad, but it does make me happy though. Like that's but
they
then you
have fun
said
names also, right?
they
Like
do
it
have
looks
fun
pretty, they
names.
have interesting names. It's an experience, I think. Like when you eat something that doesn't taste so great, or like my favorite thing is Snickers. And so people are so tired of me saying the joke, but like when I eat like a Snickers, I'm like, I'm not hangry anymore. It's just Toledo's not Toledo unless she's eating a Snickers. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Well, first of all, I will share that once upon a time, Jerry Garcia and fish food were very good friends of mine.
Oh,
I,
Really?
I really, this was, a long time ago, but yeah, it's comforting. It's comforting. It's fun. So it's like, all right, how do I recreate this comforting, fun experience with food that's in a package or something that's, going to nourish my body and my soul at the same time? So, there's healthier ice cream brands out there. Like there's this one I really like called Cosmic Bliss. They even
Mm.
import it here in Costa Rica, which is wild. Um, but it's Cosmic Bliss. It's coconut milk based, and it's sweetened with natural sweetener. It's made with coconut sugar. So already it's it doesn't have refined sugar, so it's not addictive. I don't find coconut sugar to be addictive. Some people might, I don't. They actually have this cherry amaretto that reminds me of Cherry Garcia's, so it's like I created this nostalgia. And then obviously it's still ice cream. It's like ice cream's very high in fat, even if it's coconut milk or regular milk. And I try not to eat the whole pint, right? Just have a few scoops and really just let it like nourish me and comfort me the way that that's why I want to eat ice cream. It's fun and comforting and yummy.
oh,
Go ahead.
oh no, I wanted to quickly like kind of like resurface to the entrepreneur
Well, so I'm working on a couple of things. I want to attract more one-on-one clients. I'm available for that. I want to launch an online group program here at some point. I am a private chef for retreat experiences that want anti-inflammatory food that's part of their transformation that they're offering their guests. And I'm currently working on a cookbook so that people can make my recipes at home.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. I guess my takeaway is like if your boss is grumpy, ask him what he ate. Did he have some vegetables?
Did he eat a Snickers? Does he
Did
eat a Snickers?
No, bring some real gems to work. You'll earn points.
Okay, so we're doing takeaways. You mentioned shopping the perimeter of the grocery store. If there isn't a lot of fresh food items, go for frozen over canned vegetables.
Yeah, I really liked how you talk about doing the best that you can, because the fact of the matter is a lot of people, especially in the US, live in food deserts and don't have
Right.
access to really healthy stuff and maybe can't afford delivery services, but just the intention to find the best thing that you can to prioritize feeling good over just consuming whatever you have in front of you, I think is can be helpful for anyone.
You are what you
Yeah,
eat, right? Is that true? You are what you eat? Do you believe that?
absolutely.
You
Factual.
I
feel what
absolutely
you
believe
eat.
it. Yeah. And just as much as, you are what you think, right? You are what you put on your
Mhm.
body. You are who you surround yourself with. So we can do a lot when it comes to food. So, but it's a synergy.
So you mentioned imposter syndrome, and I
Hmm.
think that when people start their healthy journey, there is a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, how would you convince someone who is not quite sure about like where to start or what to do or feeling like they can't do it because maybe they live in a food desert or maybe they think they live in a food desert? Like, how would you talk to someone who wants to start a healthy food journey but is suffering from imposter syndrome?
It's what I mentioned earlier, like really embodying doing the best that you can, because there's a lot of shame that people feel and guilt when they feel like they're eating something bad, and it's taking away the labels of good and bad from food. Food is not good or bad. It's not like good or evil. However, there's food that is medicine that nourishes us, and there's food that takes away our health and harms us. So, and it's just knowing the difference and then choosing leaning towards the foods that we know are going to help us thrive, right? And, so we can be like, so we can do the things we want to do. Because, right, if we don't have our health, we can't work.
I think the other thing is like portion control. So you mentioned like doing the best that you can. Maybe
Mhm.
you can't find a healthier option, but you don't have to eat the whole piece of cake or the whole box of chocolates, like, or whatever the unhealthy thing is. Like, eat whatever the portion size is, which I think sometimes feels very small, but
Yeah.
So when it comes to processed food or, junk food, right? Pizza's under that category. For example, it's like instead of eating the whole pizza, let's have a couple slices and then have it with a big salad. You
mm,
can order salad from a pizza place, right? And instead of smothering it in ranch, just, get some olive oil on the side and squeeze some lemon over it. That'll make it healthier because a lot of times the dressing just, it's super inflammatory, right? Especially if you're getting it from a fast food restaurant.
right. I think you mentioned something that resonates with me when it's like, I really want something. If I don't eat that thing, I eat all the other bad stuff. So it's like, just eat the Snickers because when I don't, it's like I'll eat chips and then I'm eating cookies and it's like, I haven't satisfied my craving because
Right.
I really just
Right.
wanted the Snickers.
I just want the Snickers,
You
man.
just want the Snickers. That's it.
Yeah, that's really important. And then there's also ways of like satisfying that Snickers craving without having a Snickers, right? I don't know if you're into making your own treats, but there was a
Mm.
whole Snickers made out of like dates and peanut butter and like
All that.
chocolate that went
Yeah.
viral. So it's like, so there's ways of quenching the craving without
Mhm.
having the actual thing. But then sometimes, yeah, just have the thing. Because like you say, you're like, maybe I just would have the Snickers. Instead, I ate these like 10 other foods all week that like didn't make me feel good. And then I still want the Snickers.
I always just want the Snickers.
Eating with intention, right? That's why I say like People act like, a lot of my clients will be like, "Oh, you're not gonna like what I ate," or like they're afraid to tell me, and I was like, "No, I don't care what you ate, but I care how you feel about you eating what you ate." So
Hmm.
if you're gonna eat the cupcake or eat the Snickers, like I said, enjoy the shit out of that cupcake or
Own
that
it.
Snickers. Own it. Feel great about it. Give it gratitude. I'm so grateful I have this cupcake. It just appeared. I'm so grateful. I remember to grab a Snickers and put it in my purse for this perfect moment that I wanted to eat it. And then, you go back to eating for wellness, right? You eat a whole bunch of vegetables at your next meal, right? You have the green smoothie in the morning.
Let the guilt go.
Let the guilt go. Some of us grew up in extreme diet culture where it was all about deprivation, restriction. You can't eat anything good till it's tasty, and that's why my favorite thing to prepare for people is healthy dessert. And a lot of times I'll feed people my dessert and the reaction is, "This is healthy?" I'm like, "I know."
I can't wait to taste your food someday.
Me too.
Love it.